The camera pans across a sun-drenched vineyard in Napa Valley. Rows of meticulously cultivated grapevines stretch towards the horizon, a picture of tranquility and understated wealth. This is where we find Arthur Bishop, or, as he's known here, Mr. Jensen, tending to his prized Cabernet Sauvignon. He's traded tailored suits for weathered denim, the glint of polished steel for the dull sheen of pruning shears. The years have etched lines onto his face, a roadmap of a life lived on the edge, a life he's desperately trying to bury, that he moves with a quiet efficiency, a ghost of the lethal precision that once defined him. His hands, though calloused from labor, still possess a subtle grace, a muscle memory of movements far more violent than snipping vines. There's a stillness in his eyes, a guardedness that hints at a past he can't quite escape, a past that whispers in the rustling leaves and the distant hum of highway traffic. His days are structured around the rhythms of the vineyard. Sunrise to sunset, tending, pruning, nurturing. He's built a routine, a shield against the memories that threaten to surface. Evenings are spent in quiet contemplation, a glass of his own wine in hand, staring out at the darkening valley. He avoids the local towns, preferring the solitude of his sprawling property. Human contact is minimal, limited to brief interactions with the vineyard foreman and the occasional delivery driver. The house itself is unassuming, a tastefully renovated farmhouse that blends seamlessly with the landscape. Inside, however, are subtle reminders of his former life. A reinforced door, strategically placed security cameras, and a locked room in the basement that houses a collection of weapons and tactical gear, meticulously maintained, a silent testament to the skills he can never truly abandon. He receives a package, a small, unmarked box. Inside, a single photograph, a young woman, radiant and smiling, holding a diploma. He recognizes her instantly. Megan, the daughter of his closest friend, Tom. A wave of warmth washes over him, a feeling he hasn't allowed himself to experience in years. He remembers holding her as a baby, the weight of her tiny body in his arms, the promise of a bright future in her innocent eyes. But the photograph is marred. That a crude drawing of a skull and crossbones is scrawled across her face, and beneath it, a single word, written in what appears to be dried blood. Oh! The stillness in Bishop's eyes vanishes. The ghost of Arthur Bishop, the man he tried so hard to bury, stirs within him. The years of quietude crumble away, replaced by a cold, focused intensity. He knows what this means. He knows who is responsible. And he knows that his past has finally caught up with him. The vineyard, the quiet life, the carefully constructed facade. All of it is about to be shattered. The shears are dropped, the denim jacket discarded. Mr. Jensen is gone. Arthur Bishop is back. The photograph of Megan continues to burn in Bishop's mind. He sets it down on the rough-hewn wooden table, the skull and crossbones a stark contrast to the rustic charm of the farmhouse kitchen. He walks to the window, his gaze sweeping across the vineyard. But he sees nothing of the serene landscape. He sees only Tom, his friend, his brother in arms, the one person who truly understood him. Their history stretches back decades, to a time when they were both young, reckless, and driven by a need to prove themselves. They met during a black ops mission in Chechnya, thrown together by circumstance, forged in the crucible of combat. Tom was the strategist, the cool head under pressure, while Bishop was the executioner, the relentless force that never wavered. They saved each other's lives countless times, their bond cemented in blood and shared trauma. After years of clandestine operations, they both sought a way out, a chance to leave the violence behind. Bishop chose isolation, burying himself in the anonymity of the vineyard. Tom, however, craved normalcy, a family, a life free from the shadows. He found it with Sarah, a kind and compassionate woman who saw beyond his haunted eyes. They built a life together, a home filled with love and laughter, a sanctuary that Bishop envied but never dared to intrude upon. Megan was the embodiment of that happiness, a symbol of the life he could never have. He watched her grow from a giggling toddler into a bright, independent young woman. He attended her graduations, her birthday parties, always keeping a respectful distance, a silent guardian watching over them from afar. He knew that his presence, his past, could taint their happiness, so he remained a ghost, a friendly neighbor who kept to himself. Now, that happiness is threatened. The thought of Megan in danger, the image of her face to face, ignites a cold fury within him. He knows that Tom is likely frantic, paralyzed by fear and helplessness. He can imagine his friend pacing the floor, desperately trying to find a solution, his military training rendered useless against the unknown enemy. Bishop turns from the window, his decision made. He walks to the locked room in the basement. The key cold in his hand, he unlocks the door and steps inside, the air thick with the smell of oil and gunmetal. The room is a shrine to his former life, a carefully curated collection of weapons, gadgets, and tactical gear. He runs his hand over the familiar contours of a silenced pistol. The weight of it comforting in his palm, he begins to prepare. His movements precise and efficient. He cleans and assembles his weapons, checks his ammunition, and lays out his gear. He's no longer Mr. Jensen, the vineyard owner. He's Arthur Bishop, the mechanic, the ghost, the man who gets things done. He's going to find Megan, and he's going to make sure that those responsible pay the ultimate price. He owes it to Tom, he owes it to Megan, and he owes it to the man he once was, the man he can never truly escape. The hunt begins. The jarring ring of the landline cuts through the silence of Bishop's weapon room. He glances at the caller ID. Unknown. He answers it, his voice a low, controlled murmur. Bishop. A strained, ragged voice crackles on the other end. It's Tom. They took her, Bishop. They took Megan. The words are thick with despair, barely audible. Bishop's grip tightens on the phone. Who? Tom. Who took her? The Iron Serpents. Tom gasps, his voice breaking. That biker gang. They came to the house last night. Sarah tried to stop them. He trails off, choked with emotion. Bishop can picture it all too clearly. Tom's idyllic suburban home, the picture-perfect facade shattered by the intrusion of these violent thugs. He remembers the carefully manicured lawn, the swing set in the backyard, the scent of freshly baked cookies wafting from the kitchen window. It was a world away from the darkness he knew, a world he always strived to protect. He met Sarah shortly after he extracted himself from his old life. She was everything that world wasn't. Warm, open, trusting. She was a kindergarten teacher, a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness. She had a calming influence on Tom, grounding him, giving him a reason to fight for something more than just survival. Megan was their miracle, the culmination of their love. Tom was a natural father, patient and loving, teaching her to ride a bike, coaching her soccer team, always there to offer support and encouragement. He beamed with pride at her every accomplishment, his eyes filled with an unwavering love. Bishop saw in Tom's relationship with Megan a reflection of the father he never had, the family he never knew. What did they want, Tom? Bishop asks, his voice calm but firm. I don't know, Tom stammers. They just took her. They said something about a debt, something I owed them. Bishop's mind races. Tom had always been scrupulously honest, a man of unwavering integrity. What possible debt could he owe to a ruthless biker gang? Unless it was something from his past, something he had kept hidden from Sarah and Megan, something that had come back to haunt him. Where are you, Tom? Bishop asks. I'm at the house. The police are here. They're useless, Bishop. They don't understand what we're dealing with. Bishop understands perfectly. The Iron Serpents are not petty criminals. They are a well-organized, highly dangerous gang with a reputation for violence and ruthlessness. The police will be outmatched, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. Stay there, Tom, Bishop says. I'm coming. He hangs up the phone, his face a mask of grim determination. The stakes have been raised. This is no longer just about rescuing Megan. It's about protecting Tom, about avenging Sarah, and about confronting the demons of their shared past. The hunt has become personal. The game has changed, and the Iron Serpents are about to learn that they have made a very, very big mistake. Bishop throws a duffel bag onto the passenger seat of his modified Jeep Wrangler. He grabs his keys and heads out, the engine roaring to life, a mechanical beast awakened from a long slumber. He glances back at the farmhouse, a symbol of the life he can no longer afford to lead. He presses down on the accelerator, the Jeep speeding down the long driveway, kicking up dust and gravel. Meanwhile, let's rewind to the night of the kidnapping. The Iron Serpents, a notorious biker gang known for their brutality and disregard for the law, descended upon Tom's quiet suburban street like a pack of wolves. Their leader, a hulking brute named Viper, led the charge, his face scarred and weathered, his eyes cold and calculating. They roared up to Tom's house on a dozen motorcycles, the thunderous noise shattering the peaceful evening. Sarah, hearing the commotion, rushed to the door, her heart pounding in her chest. She opened it to find herself face to face with Viper and his menacing crew. "Where's Tom?" Viper growled, his voice a gravelly rasp. Sarah, despite her fear, stood her ground. "He's not here," she lied, hoping to protect her family. Viper smirked, a chilling expression that sent shivers down her spine. "Don't lie to me, lady. We know he's here. We have a score to settle." Two of the bikers pushed past Sarah, storming into the house. They ransacked the living room, tossing furniture and tearing down pictures. Megan, hearing the commotion, came downstairs, her eyes wide with terror. "Mom, what's going on?" she cried. Viper's eyes locked on Megan. A cruel smile spread across his face. Well, he said, his voice dripping with malice. "Looks like we have a little leverage." He grabbed Megan by the arm, his grip like a vice. Sarah screamed, trying to pull her daughter away, but she was no match for Viper's strength. He shoved her aside, sending her crashing to the floor. "Let her go," Sarah pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "Please, don't hurt her. Tom owes us a lot of money," Viper said, his eyes fixed on Megan. "He made a deal with the devil, and now it's time to pay up if he wants to see his precious daughter again. He knows what to do." He dragged Megan out of the house, ignoring Sarah's desperate cries. The bikers revved their engines, the noise deafening. They sped off into the night, leaving Sarah lying on the floor, heartbroken and terrified. The Iron Serpent's motivation was multifaceted. They needed leverage to force Tom to repay a debt he had incurred years ago when he was working undercover, infiltrating their ranks. They also saw Megan as a valuable commodity, a pawn in their twisted game. They planned to use her as collateral, threatening to harm her if Tom didn't comply with their demands. Furthermore, the Iron Serpents were involved in human trafficking, and Megan's abduction presented an opportunity to add another victim to their network. As Bishop races towards Tom's house. He knows that time is of the essence. Megan's life hangs in the balance, and he is the only one who can save her. He steels himself for the battle ahead, knowing that he will have to confront the Iron Serpent's brutality head-on. He is ready to unleash a storm of vengeance, a whirlwind of destruction that will leave no one standing in his way. The road to redemption is paved with blood. The Jeep screeches to a halt in front of Tom's house. The scene is chaotic. Police cars with flashing lights, yellow tape cordoning off the property, and distraught neighbors milling around, whispering amongst themselves. Bishop pushes through the crowd, his face grim, his eyes scanning the scene for Tom. He spots him standing on the porch, surrounded by police officers, his face pale and drawn, his eyes bloodshot. Sarah is nowhere to be seen. Bishop approaches him, his presence cutting through the noise and confusion. Tom looks up, his eyes widening with a mixture of relief and desperation. "Bishop," he whispers, his voice hoarse. "Thank God you're here." Bishop puts a hand on Tom's shoulder, a silent gesture of support. "What happened, Tom? Tell me everything." Tom recounts the events of the night, his voice trembling with emotion. He describes the Iron Serpent's arrival, their brutality, and the terror in Megan's eyes. He blames himself for her abduction, consumed by guilt and regret. Bishop listens patiently, his expression unwavering. He understands Tom's pain, his helplessness. He knows that Tom feels responsible for bringing this danger into his family's life. After Tom finishes his story, he looks at Bishop, his eyes pleading. "You have to help her, Bishop," he begs. "You're the only one who can. The police won't be able to do anything. They don't understand who we're dealing with." Bishop hesitates for a moment. He had sworn off violence. He had promised himself that he would never return to that life. He had built a new existence, a peaceful sanctuary far removed from the darkness of his past. He knew that getting involved would mean jeopardizing everything he had worked so hard to achieve. but he can't turn his back on Tom. Their bond is too strong, their history too deep. He remembers the countless times Tom had saved his life, the sacrifices he had made for him. He knows that he owes him this and more. "I'll do everything I can, Tom," Bishop says, his voice firm. "I promise you, I'll bring her home." Tom's shoulders slump with relief that he knows that Bishop is a man of his word, that he will stop at nothing to fulfill his promise. "But, Bishop," Tom says, his voice filled with concern, "they're dangerous. They're ruthless. I don't want you to get hurt." Bishop looks at Tom, a flicker of a smile playing on his lips. "Don't worry about me, Tom," he says. "I've dealt with worse." He knows that the road ahead will be perilous, that he will face danger and violence at every turn. But he is prepared to do whatever it takes to rescue Megan and bring her back to her family. He is driven by a sense of loyalty, a need for redemption, and a burning desire to protect those he cares about. He is Arthur Bishop, and he is about to unleash hell on the Iron Serpents. Bishop knows he can't rely on the police. They're too slow, too bureaucratic, and they lack the specific skills needed to deal with a ruthless organization like the Iron Serpents. He needs to operate outside the law, using his own methods to gather information and track down Megan. He starts by tapping into his old network of contacts, a shadowy collection of informants, fixers, and mercenaries scattered across the country. He makes a series of phone calls, his voice low and coded, requesting information on the Iron Serpents, their leadership, their operations, their hideouts. His first lead comes from a former associate named Razor, a wiry ex-con with a penchant for violence and a knack for gathering intelligence. Razor informs Bishop that the Iron Serpents are based out of a rundown industrial park on the outskirts of the city, a place called the Devil's Forge. Bishop drives to the Devil's Forge, a desolate wasteland of abandoned warehouses and rusted machinery. The air is thick with the smell of oil and decay. He parks his Jeep a safe distance away and surveys the area, his eyes scanning for signs of activity. He spots a lone figure lurking in the shadows, a greasy-haired biker with a patch on his vest identifying him as a member of the Iron Serpents. Bishop approaches him, his movements swift and silent. He grabs the biker from behind, slamming him against a brick wall. "Where's Megan?" Bishop growls, his voice menacing. The biker struggles, his eyes wide with fear. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammers. Bishop tightens his grip, his fingers digging into the biker's flesh. "Don't lie to me," he hisses. "I know you have her. Tell me where she is, or I'll make you wish you were never born." The biker continues to deny any knowledge of Megan's whereabouts, but Bishop can see the fear in his eyes. He knows he's hiding something. Bishop resorts to more persuasive methods. He uses his knowledge of pressure points and pain compliance techniques to extract information from the biker. He doesn't enjoy inflicting pain, but he knows that it's necessary to save Megan. After several minutes of brutal interrogation, the biker finally cracks. He reveals that Megan is being held at the Iron Serpents' main hideout, a remote compound located deep in the redwood forests of Northern California. He provides Bishop with the coordinates and a description of the compound's security measures. Bishop releases the biker, leaving him battered and bruised against the wall. He knows that the biker will likely report him to the Iron Serpents, but he doesn't care. He has the information he needs. He gets back in his Jeep and heads north, his mind focused on the task ahead. He knows that the Iron Serpents will be expecting him, that they will be prepared for a fight. But he is not afraid. He is Arthur Bishop, and he is coming for Megan. The Iron Serpents have made a grave mistake, and they are about to pay the price. The redwood forests loom, ancient giants casting long shadows across the winding mountain roads. Bishop follows the GPS coordinates, the Jeep navigating the treacherous terrain with ease that he knows he's getting closer. The air grows colder, the silence more profound. Before assaulting the main compound, Bishop needs a clearer picture of the layout, security, and the number of guards. The interrogated biker only provided limited information. He decides to hit a smaller, less guarded outpost, a biker bar called the Serpent's Tooth. Rumored to be a frequent hangout for Iron Serpents members, he parks the Jeep a mile down the road, cloaked in the dense foliage. He arms himself with a silenced pistol, a combat knife, and a set of lock picks. He moves on foot, a ghost in the woods, his senses heightened, his movements precise. The Serpent's Tooth is a dilapidated shack on the side of the road, its neon sign flickering erratically. The sounds of raucous laughter and heavy metal music spill out into the night. Bishop approaches cautiously. Peering through the grimy windows, he sees a dozen or so bikers inside, drinking, gambling, and generally causing mayhem. He identifies several wearing Iron Serpent's patches. This is his target. He slips through the back door, unnoticed. The bar is dimly lit, smoke-filled, and reeking of stale beer and cheap whiskey. He blends into the shadows, observing the bikers, assessing their strengths and weaknesses. He spots a lone biker sitting at the bar, nursing a drink, his back to the room. Bishop approaches him, his movements deliberate, his intentions clear. He grabs the biker by the shoulder, spinning him around. "Where's Viper?" Bishop demands, his voice low and menacing. The biker, startled, reaches for his knife. Bishop is faster. He disarms the biker with a swift move, twisting his wrist until he cries out in pain. "I don't know what you're talking about." The biker stammers, his eyes wide with fear. Bishop doesn't believe him. He slams the biker's head against the bar, knocking him unconscious. The other bikers turn to see what's happening. The bar erupts in chaos. Bikers jump to their feet, brandishing knives, pool cues, and broken bottles. Bishop is outnumbered, but he is not outmatched. He moves with lightning speed, a whirlwind of violence. He dispatches the bikers with brutal efficiency. Using his fists, elbows, knees, and any weapon he can find, he breaks bones, crushes throats, and leaves a trail of unconscious bodies in his wake. He uses the environment to his advantage, smashing bottles over heads, throwing bar stools, and using pool cues as makeshift weapons. He is a force of nature, an unstoppable machine of destruction. The fight is short and brutal. Within minutes, the bar is silent, save for the moans of the injured. Bishop stands amidst the carnage, his clothes stained with blood, his face a mask of grim satisfaction. He finds the bartender cowering behind the counter. He grabs him by the collar, pulling him up to face him. "Where's Viper?" Bishop repeats, his voice unwavering. "Tell me everything you know." The bartender, terrified, spills everything he knows about Viper and the Iron Serpent's compound, confirming the layout, security, and the number of guards. He also reveals a crucial piece of information. Viper is expecting Bishop and has set a trap for him. Bishop releases the bartender, leaving him trembling in fear. He knows that Viper is waiting for him, but he is not deterred. He is ready for anything. He has the information he needs, and he is one step closer to rescuing Megan. The hunt continues. Bishop drives deeper into the redwood forest, the GPS leading him along a series of increasingly narrow and winding dirt roads. The trees become denser, the darkness more impenetrable. He knows he's close. Finally, he reaches a vantage point overlooking the Iron Serpent's compound. It's a sprawling complex nestled in a secluded valley, surrounded by towering redwood trees and a high chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Guard towers are strategically positioned around the perimeter, manned by armed bikers. Floodlights illuminate the compound, casting harsh shadows across the landscape. The compound itself consists of several buildings: a large warehouse, a garage, a dormitory, and a main house, presumably where Viper resides. Motorcycles and other vehicles are parked haphazardly around the compound. The scene is chaotic and menacing, a clear indication of the Iron Serpent's ruthless nature. Bishop studies the compound through his binoculars. Analyzing its defenses, he notes the locations of the guard towers, the patrol routes of the security personnel, and the placement of security cameras. He observes that the main gate is heavily guarded and reinforced, making a direct assault virtually impossible. He identifies several potential points of entry: a weak spot in the fence on the north side of the compound, a drainage tunnel leading under the main gate, and a back entrance to the warehouse that appears to be less heavily guarded. However, each of these options presents its own set of challenges. The fence is surrounded by barbed wire and potentially rigged with alarms. The drainage tunnel is narrow and likely infested with vermin. The back entrance to the warehouse is exposed to the guard towers and could be easily ambushed. Furthermore, Bishop knows that Viper is expecting him and has likely reinforced the compound's defenses. He can't afford to underestimate his enemy. He spends hours observing the compound, meticulously planning his infiltration strategy. He needs to be stealthy, resourceful, and ruthless. That he needs to exploit every weakness and opportunity. He needs to be prepared for anything. He realizes that his best option is to infiltrate the compound under the cover of darkness. Using the terrain and the elements to his advantage, he will approach the weak spot in the fence on the north side. Using wire cutters to create an opening, he will then move stealthily through the compound, avoiding detection, until he reaches the main house, where he believes Megan is being held. He knows that this plan is fraught with danger. He will be outnumbered and outgunned. He will be facing a well-organized and highly motivated enemy. But he is not deterred. He is Arthur Bishop, and he is determined to rescue Megan. No matter the cost, he gathers his gear, checks his weapons, and prepares to move. The night is his ally. The hunt is about to begin in earnest. Under the cloak of a moonless night, Bishop begins his assault. The wind whispers through the towering redwoods, providing a natural camouflage for his movements. He approaches the weak point in the fence. Wire cutters in hand, he carefully snips through the chain links, creating a small opening just large enough to squeeze through. He checks for alarms. Using a specialized device to detect any electrical currents, he finds none. The iron serpents may be ruthless, but they are not always the most sophisticated. He slips through the opening, landing silently on the other side. He is now inside the compound, but he is not safe yet. He needs to avoid detection and reach the main house without raising the alarm. He moves stealthily through the shadows, hugging the perimeter of the compound. He uses his knowledge of tactical movement and concealment techniques to avoid the patrolling guards. He observes their patterns, their routes, and their blind spots. He encounters his first obstacle: a security camera mounted on a nearby building. He uses a small electronic device to disable the camera, temporarily blinding it. He has only a few minutes before the system resets, so he needs to move quickly. He continues his approach, navigating the maze of buildings and vehicles. He encounters another guard, standing watch near the back entrance to the warehouse. This time, he can't avoid a confrontation. He uses a silent takedown technique, approaching the guard from behind and snapping his neck. The guard falls to the ground without a sound. Bishop drags the body into the shadows, concealing it from view. He reaches the warehouse. His primary objective: he needs to disable the power to the floodlights that illuminate the compound. He knows that the electrical panel is located inside the warehouse. He uses his lockpicking skills to open the back entrance to the warehouse. He slips inside, his silenced pistol drawn. The warehouse is dark and cavernous, filled with crates, barrels, and other supplies. He moves cautiously through the warehouse, searching for the electrical panel. He encounters several more guards, but he dispatches them with swift and silent precision. He is a ghost in the darkness, predator stalking his prey. Finally, he finds the electrical panel. He uses his knowledge of electrical systems to disable the floodlights, plunging the compound into darkness. The iron serpents are thrown into chaos. They scramble to regain control, but it's too late. Bishop has already gained the upper hand. He uses the darkness to his advantage, moving freely through the compound, eliminating guards and disrupting their operations. He sets off small explosions, creating diversions and causing confusion. He is a one-man army, tearing apart the iron serpent's defenses. He knows that he is getting closer to Megan. He can feel it. He is driven by a burning desire to rescue her and bring her back to safety. He will not stop until he has accomplished his mission. The assault is underway, and the iron serpents are about to learn what it means to face the wrath of Arthur Bishop. With the compound plunged into darkness, the remaining iron serpents regroup, their initial panic replaced by a growing sense of desperation and a thirst for revenge. Viper, enraged by Bishop's audacity, rallies his men, barking orders and promising retribution. As Bishop moves closer to the main house, he encounters increasing resistance. The remaining guards are more alert, more aggressive. They know he's coming, and they're determined to stop him. He engages in a series of intense firefights, using his tactical skills and marksmanship to overcome the odds. He takes cover behind vehicles, crates, and other obstacles. Using his silenced pistol to pick off his enemies one by one, he throws smoke grenades to create diversions. Using the confusion to his advantage, he sets traps, using improvised explosives to eliminate multiple opponents at once. But the iron serpents are relentless. They keep coming, wave after wave, determined to overwhelm him. Bishop knows that he can't keep this up forever. He needs to reach Megan soon, or he'll be overrun. Suddenly, a new figure emerges from the shadows. He's a hulking brute, even bigger and more intimidating than Viper. He's covered in tattoos. His face scarred and weathered. He moves with a menacing swagger, his eyes filled with a cold, calculating malice. This is Hammer, Viper's second-in-command, his right-hand man, his most trusted enforcer. He's a notorious fighter, known for his brutal strength and his unwavering loyalty to the Iron Serpents. Hammer steps forward, his voice a deep, guttural growl. "You've caused enough trouble, old man," he says, his eyes fixed on Bishop. "It's time to end this." He pulls out a massive combat knife, its blade gleaming in the dim light. He lunges at Bishop, his movements surprisingly fast for his size. Bishop is forced to abandon his stealth tactics and engage Hammer in hand-to-hand combat. The two men clash, their bodies colliding with brutal force. Hammer is a formidable opponent, his strength and aggression testing Bishop's skills to the limit. He throws punches, kicks, and headbutts, trying to overwhelm Bishop with his raw power. Bishop uses his agility and his knowledge of martial arts to evade Hammer's attacks. He counters with swift strikes, targeting Hammer's pressure points and weak spots. The fight is intense and brutal, a clash of titans. The two men trade blows, each determined to defeat the other. The outcome is uncertain. Bishop knows that he needs to end this quickly. He can't afford to waste time fighting Hammer. Megan's life is on the line. He uses a series of deceptive moves to create an opening. He then delivers a devastating blow to Hammer's throat, crushing his windpipe. Hammer collapses to the ground, gasping for air, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Bishop stands over him, his face grim, his body battered and bruised. Viper is next. Bishop says, his voice cold and menacing, that he turns and continues his. Leaving Hammer's lifeless body behind, Bishop presses on towards the main house. He knows Viper will be waiting, and he expects the path to be fraught with peril as he approaches the house. He notices tripwires stretched across the path, connected to hidden explosives. He carefully disarms them. His knowledge of explosives proving invaluable, he knows Viper is trying to slow him down, to wear him down, but he won't be deterred. He reaches the front door of the house, which is heavily fortified with steel bars and reinforced locks. He tries to pick the lock, but it's no use. Viper has anticipated his every move. Suddenly, the windows of the house shatter, and a barrage of gunfire erupts. Bishop dives for cover, narrowly avoiding the bullets. He realizes that the house is booby-trapped, designed to be a death trap. He needs to find another way, and he circles the house, searching for a weak point, a vulnerability. He notices a small window on the side of the house, partially obscured by bushes. He approaches the window cautiously. Peering inside, he sees Megan, tied to a chair, her face pale and terrified. Viper is standing behind her, holding a gun to her head. "Come any closer, and I'll kill her," Viper shouts, his voice filled with malice. Bishop freezes. He's caught in a moral dilemma. He can't risk Megan's life, but he can't back down now. He needs to find a way to save her without putting her in harm's way. He notices that there are other people in the room besides Megan and Viper. They're women, likely victims of the Iron Serpent's human trafficking operation. They're huddled in a corner, their faces filled with fear. Bishop realizes that he can't simply storm the house. He needs to be careful, calculated. He needs to protect the innocent bystanders. Even as he confronts Viper, he decides to try to negotiate. He steps out from behind the bushes, his hands raised in the air. "Let her go, Viper," Bishop says, his voice calm but firm. "This doesn't have to end this way." Viper laughs, a cruel, mocking sound. "You think I'm going to let you walk away with her?" he says. "You're a fool." He tightens his grip on Megan's head, pressing the gun against her temple. "I'm going to kill her, right here, right now," he says, "unless..." He pauses, his eyes narrowing. "Unless you agree to walk away. Leave her here, and I'll let you go. I'll even give you a head start." Bishop knows that Viper is lying. He'll never let him go. He'll kill him the moment he turns his back. But he needs to buy time, to find an opportunity to save Megan. "All right, Viper," Bishop says, his voice. "I agree to walk away, Bishop says, his voice betraying none of the turmoil within. Just let Megan go, and I'll leave that I'll never bother you again. Viper stares at him, his eyes filled with suspicion. He doesn't believe Bishop, but he can't resist the opportunity to be rid of him. All right, Viper says, his voice a sneer, but you have to drop your weapon and walk away right now and no tricks. Bishop slowly lowers his silenced pistol, placing it on the ground. He takes a step back. Then another. He's playing a dangerous game, but he has no other choice as he walks away. He keeps his eyes fixed on Viper. He knows that the moment he turns his back, Viper will shoot him. He needs to find an opening, a way to turn the tables. Suddenly, he spots something out of the corner of his eye. One of the women in the corner is slowly reaching for a broken piece of glass. Her eyes fixed on Viper. She's planning to attack him. To create a diversion, Bishop realizes that this is his chance. He stops walking, turns around, and sprints towards the house. What the hell do you think you're doing? Viper shouts, his face contorted with rage. He raises his gun, preparing to shoot Bishop, but the woman lunges at him, slashing him across the face with the broken glass. Viper screams in pain, dropping his gun. Bishop seizes the opportunity. Leaping through the broken window, he lands inside the room. His movements swift and decisive. He grabs Viper, disarming him with a quick move. He then throws him against the wall, knocking him unconscious. He turns to Megan, untying her from the chair. Are you all right? He asks, his voice filled with concern. Megan nods, her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she whispers. Thank you for saving me. Bishop helps the other women escape from the house, leading them to safety. He knows that they've been through a terrible ordeal, but he's grateful that he was able to save them. He then turns his attention back to Viper, who is slowly regaining consciousness. He grabs him by the collar, pulling him to his feet. Why did you do this, Viper? Bishop asks, his voice cold and menacing. Why did you kidnap Megan? Viper spits in his face, his eyes filled with hatred. She was leverage, he says. Tom owes me money. He betrayed me years ago, and I wanted to make him pay. He reveals that Tom had been working undercover for the DEA, infiltrating the Iron Serpent's drug trafficking operation. Tom had gathered evidence that led to the arrest of several high-ranking members of the gang, including Viper's brother. Viper had vowed revenge, and he had waited years for the opportunity to make Tom pay. He had kidnapped Megan to force Tom to repay the debt, to suffer the same pain that he had suffered. Bishop listens to Viper's story, his face impassive. He understands Viper's motivations, but he doesn't condone his actions. He knows that Viper is a danger to society, a threat to innocent lives. He can't let him go. He drags Viper outside, away from Megan and the other women. He leads him to a secluded spot in the woods, far from the compound. What are you going to do? Viper asks, his voice filled with fear. Bishop doesn't answer. He looks at Viper, his eyes filled with a cold, unwavering determination. He knows what he has to do. He delivers a swift, decisive blow to Viper's head, knocking him unconscious. He then leaves him lying in the woods. Knowing that he will likely die from exposure, he returns to the compound, where Megan and the other women are waiting for him. He helps them get into his Jeep, preparing to leave. Megan is sitting in the passenger seat, her eyes wide and haunted. She's traumatized by what she's been through, but she's alive. She's safe. Bishop looks at her, his heart filled with a mixture of relief and sadness. He knows that she will never be the same, but he hopes that she will eventually heal. He puts the Jeep in gear and drives away from the compound, leaving the Iron Serpent's reign of terror behind. He knows that the police will eventually arrive, but he doesn't care that he's done what he had to do as they drive away. Megan looks at Bishop, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, she says, her voice barely audible. You saved my life. Bishop smiles, a rare and genuine expression of warmth. You're welcome, he says. I'm just glad you're safe. He drives Megan to a safe location, where she can receive medical attention and counseling. He knows that she needs time to recover. To process what she's been through, he stays with her for a few hours, offering her comfort and support. He tells her that everything will be all right, that she's strong and resilient. He knows that he can't stay with her forever. He has to disappear. To return to his solitary life, He can't risk bringing more danger into her life. He says goodbye to Megan, promising her that he will always be there for her if she needs him. He then disappears into the night, leaving her to begin her long road to recovery. As he drives away, he reflects on what he's done. He's saved Megan's life, but he's also taken several lives. He's returned to the violence that he had tried so hard to escape. He wonders if he's done the right thing. He wonders if he'll ever be able to find peace. He knows that the answer is no. He knows that peace is a luxury he can never afford. He is a killer, ghost, a mechanic. He will always be haunted by the violence of his past. But he also knows that he can use his skills to protect the innocent, to fight for justice. He can use his darkness to bring light to others. He drives back to the Iron Serpent's compound. He knows that Viper is still alive, that he's a threat to Tom and Megan. He can't leave him alive. He returns to the spot where he left Viper. But he's gone. He searches the area, his senses heightened, his movements cautious. He finds Viper hiding behind a tree, armed with a knife. He's weak and injured, but he's still dangerous. Viper lunges at Bishop, his eyes filled with rage. Bishop dodges the attack, disarming Viper with a swift move. He grabs Viper by the throat, lifting him off the ground, and he looks into his eyes. His face a mask of grim determination. "This ends now," Bishop says, his voice cold and unwavering. He tightens his grip, crushing Viper's windpipe. Viper struggles, his eyes wide with terror, but it's no use. Bishop is too strong that Viper's body goes limp. Bishop releases him, letting him fall to the ground. He's dead. Bishop stands over Viper's body, his chest heaving, his body battered and bruised. He's finally finished. He's avenged Megan. He's protected Tom. And he's brought an end to the Iron Serpent's reign of terror. He knows that his actions will have consequences. He'll likely be hunted by the police, by the DEA, by anyone who has a connection to the Iron Serpents. But he doesn't care. He's done what he had to do. He's brought justice to the world, even if it meant returning to the darkness. He turns and walks away from Viper's body, disappearing into the woods. He knows that his life will never be the same, but he's at peace with his decision. He is Arthur Bishop, and he is a force to be reckoned with. He will always be there to protect the innocent, to fight for justice. He is a ghost, a mechanic, a killer. But he is also a hero. He leaves a sign on Viper, "Oh, no more." The end. Or is it? The following morning, Bishop watches from a distance as Tom is reunited with Megan. The scene unfolds outside the hospital, a poignant tableau of relief and gratitude. Tom rushes towards Megan, embracing her tightly, his face etched with emotion. Megan clings to him, burying her face in his shoulder, tears streaming down her face. Bishop observes their reunion, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. He's fulfilled his promise. He's brought Megan home. He's protected his friend. And he sees Sarah standing nearby, her face filled with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. She looks at Tom and Megan, her eyes filled with love. The family is reunited, their bond strengthened by the ordeal. He notices the unspoken understanding between Tom and Sarah, a deeper connection forged in the face of unimaginable fear. The ordeal has left scars, visible and invisible, but their love remains, a testament to their resilience. Bishop knows that he can't approach them, that his presence would only bring more danger into their lives. He is a ghost, a shadow, a force that operates outside the boundaries of normal society. He accepts this truth, knowing that his life is one of sacrifice and solitude. He turns and walks away, disappearing into the crowd. He knows that he will never be able to have a normal life, that he will always be haunted by the violence of his past. But he also knows that he has made a difference, that he has brought light into the darkness. He returns to his Jeep, starting the engine. He glances back at the hospital, one last look at the family he has saved. He then drives away, heading back to his solitary life. As he drives, he feels a strange sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction that he hasn't experienced in years. The weight on his shoulders hasn't vanished, but it feels lighter. Somehow, he doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows that he will continue to fight for justice, to protect the weak, and to bring an end to the darkness that threatens to consume the world. He is no longer running from his past. He is embracing it, using his skills to make the world a better place, one rescue at a time. He arrives back at his vineyard, the sun setting over the rolling hills, he surveys his property, his heart filled with a sense of both peace and renewed purpose. The vineyard, once a symbol of his desire for escape, now represents a sanctuary, a place to recharge and prepare for the next battle. He walks into his house. Closing the door behind him, he is Arthur Bishop, and he is a force to be reckoned with. He is a ghost, a mechanic, a killer. But he is also a hero, a guardian angel watching over those who cannot protect themselves. He is a man of action, and he will always be there to answer the call of duty. The fight continues. The world needs him. He picks up the photo of Megan, the one with the skull drawn across her face. This time, instead of tearing it, he burns it in the fireplace. A symbolic act of closure and healing. He is letting go of the darkness, embracing the light. He pours himself a glass of wine. Walking out onto the porch, he looks out at the darkening sky. His face a mask of quiet contemplation, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. He is Arthur Bishop, and he is ready for whatever comes next. As he sips his wine, a text message arrives on his burner phone. It's a single word, "Oh." Bishop doesn't sigh, he simply nods, his eyes hardening with resolve. He knows his peace is temporary. But he also knows he's no longer simply escaping, he's answering a call. The fight is far from over, and he is ready. He finishes his wine, the weight of the world settling upon his shoulders once more. But this time, it feels like a burden he is willing to carry. He steps back inside, picks up the phone, and begins to make a call. The end.